Welcome to the Dancing Deplorable Patriot, also known as Milo, and we're here to talk about the battle for Antarctica because I've been studying this for about 6 years now. Started in 2015 when I was at university. Started following that, and I've ended up here. And I have a lot of things to go over, but I want to introduce you to the biggest tool that I use to find Earth. I use Google Earth Pro, and I actually found out about that as well through Roger. Started using that, and there's also a few other people online. I'll share some links in a little bit. Florida Marquis is one. Necessarily follow Florida Marquis. He has some really great, great content with everything that he says, but he has some really great finds in Antarctica as well, which is why I kind of follow him. What I'm going to talk about today is what I found in Antarctica. What is there besides? They say that there's an ice and snow, but that is not all that is there. And I've just kind of been doing silly researching, just Wikipedia, learning a little bit of facts about Antarctica, just general facts about the population there, and do they have police, and things like that. And they talk about having such a small amount of people that actually live there. But when they talk about that, they talk about the people above ground. From what I've found in all of Antarctica, there is so much going on there. Just like in Brazil, in South America, in places that we can't necessarily searched in a whole lot of areas that are completely non-accessible, basically, except by air. But going on in those places that we don't know, they know about, but we don't. But we're finding out about it. So information on underground type bases that they have, and it being nuclear. They're running nuclear bases, and you can kind of see the effects of how they tell us the information from basically seeing more information come out of there that's the truth as into what we're finding in reality than anything any place else, like the news. It's video games, and people may be shocked by that, but I'm not in a way. I think it's really funny that the young people know more than anybody else right now. A lot of them do because they're gamers and they play the games and they've watched all this BS going on. And they've seen it playing it in a game and then seeing it unfold in real life. They're sitting here going, okay, whatever. But let's get started. I want to and Google Earth Pro, and I'm going to move out of the scene. Let me move over here. I don't see anybody. That's okay. God has me on this mission, and I have a lot of stuff to cover, and you're probably going to be seeing a lot of me. So here we go. First of all, I'd like to say that looking at Google Earth, keep in mind that I don't believe in this globe. After reading the Bible and getting scripture backing up information that I've been researching, I found that this is not correct. But I find it fascinating that we can find things that are very interesting about this concept, like how we look at things when we're looking through Google Earth. Like, take this for instance. I'm going to show you a dragon flying at you off of the page, like basically off of the Earth. I'm going to pull it in and zoom it in, and you'll see how geology is actually biology, but they're not going to tell you that. They're finding things on the cellular level. Like, I can show you Google Earth shots of skin in Australia, also in Antarctica, which I'll show you some today. And keep in mind, if you haven't looked at it, and I should probably pull that up, if you haven't seen a mummified frozen carcass, like of a seal or a penguin or something, or even a human that's been frozen to death in severe extreme cold, how it grazed the body, how it take all the color out of it. Basically, it just looks like a mummy. Okay, if you keep that in mind as I'm showing you things in Antarctica, you will see with you will acquire mud fossil eyes as a beginning if you haven't already been introduced to it. Because once you see it, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. Okay, so here we go. So here's Google Earth, and I suggest anybody doing this and encouraging your children to investigate. Okay, so here's the dragon. He's at the top of the screen, and he's gonna fly in, and we're gonna see him fly in here. Here we go. Wing on the right, wing on the left. One's green and one's white. Here, let's move him this way. Here we go. Flying in. There he is. See his head right here? Here he is. Let's turn it a little bit. There's his head. Eye. 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 Teeth. Ah. Ah. Yeah. So, and that doesn't make sense to me at all because I don't believe in this continent. I believe that Antarctica exists as possible starting point at the southmost part of South America, because according to ancient maps, which shit, I don't know who made them, whatever, but these two were connected. So how all this, like a dragon, and how that used to be connected doesn't make sense to me. It's very odd. It's very, very odd. Okay, so here we are, Antarctica. If you opened up Antarctica, all of this up, this is like, to me, I believe it's all in this big spiral. They've kind of just rolled it up into this big spiral spring and said, okay, here we got a continent, instead of it being completely encircling us, and all the continents. That's what you get. Okay, first of all, let's go start where? Let's start at a giant sculpture. Welcome to Antarctica. They blur a lot of things, they hide a lot of things. But when you're looking, uh, I'm an artist and I've spent a lot of time drawing buildings, animals, people, plants. Um, you just get used to seeing what you see. So as I go through and I look at these things, there are no way that organic material can make into shapes of buildings. Even when it's pixelated, like they're trying to make it seem, you still see too much. There's too much going on for it to be organic. Okay? Over here, we have an overhang of some kind. You can see the shadows tell you a lot in Antarctica. I have learned so much through looking at the shadows or how the shadows lay and also in which direction the shadows lay. Because I believe that's how you can prove to yourself that Antarctica isn't what they say it is because of the shadows it represents. When you go, like, let me show you here for an example. See these big arrows? See these big arrows here? Here's a big one right here. Here's a big one right here. Here's one right here. Here's one right here. Here's one here, here, here. And see, notice that they're all going in different directions. Those are the directions that your shadows are falling in. You cannot tell me that the sun is like over here, and then it's like over here, and then it's like over here, and then it's like going like over here, like two totally opposite directions. Come on, hello. And even right here, I mean, look at that. How many different directions in just that small area. So there are things to think about, when you're looking at this um, through the way that they want you to see it. Now, this little spot here, this little spot, is anybody in here? Is anybody even watching? This little spot right here, let me move in closer. This little spot right here, I spent a lot of recently because I found out that this is where Ghislaine Maxwell? Yeah. Ghislaine Maxwell flew here after Epstein was arrested. She flew here in the middle of winter, in Antarctica, which is probably like June, July. I would suspect whenever Epstein got arrested within the first couple months or 3 months or whatever, that's when she went. But this entire area is completely lit up, plus it's blotted out. So they've masked it, but it's still something that we need to think about and keep in mind that there's a lot of light here, a whole lot of light. And the fact of when she went says that Antarctica is accessible 365 days a year, 24/7, is what that told us um, as we follow these people. Also, there's another place over here. It's very interesting how they do the center because they can't make it up. They can't tell you what the center is of Antarctica. They're trying to make this whatever. But if you notice when they do the overlays and the moon, these things are all the same on all of them. They're trying to trick us. They're trying to play some games. It's really stupid. Another spot that I believe this may be one, and I'll have to pay attention to what's in here. We may take a look later. But this may be a straight shot for ships to come through. There may be an armed path through the ice, because they do that a lot as well. Florida Marquee talks about that a little bit. And you can see some stuff going on. They try to hide a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. I would say 95% of the stuff is hidden. But if you look on the fringes of everything, you can, and that's where I spend my time, is on the fringe. I'm living on the fringe on Google Earth, because I find more things in the fringe than I do through the regular stuff. Another thing you'll notice, you'll get to areas like this. There'll be different colors, but you'll see it like it'll be seemingly super clear. Okay, digitally super clear. We'll go all the way up. Let's let it focus. We'll go in super close. And it's super clear. Okay? You can see that's a rock. By golly, that's a rock. Okay? But when you get into the areas that they're trying to hide, like in here, you can see it's a little more blurry, obscure, things like this here, which I would say that's a little tiny city, which probably flows up into here. We got some weird stuff up here. The shapes say city. They don't say rocks. Too much color, too much straight lines, too many windows, squares, things like that. Whereas, I mean, you can kind of see some, I mean, this may be a whole city right here, because some of these things look like vehicles. So who's to say? Who's to say? But let's see what we've got here. Let me move back over there. I don't see anything. Okay, so the one, oh, sometimes I've found some pretty large stairs. I've got to look up my location for it. They've misplaced my longitude and latitude for that. And this is a pretty obvious place too. It looks like they've got some type of rail system or something going from one part to another. Some of these things are very, very interesting. And you can see openings into mountainsides. There's just a lot. And you can see a lot. Also, in some of these fringe areas are obvious steam coming out of the top of domiciles, homes, whatever it is. So they're trying, and see it's kind of blurry here. We just looked over there a minute ago on the side of a mountain, and it was super clear. And we're at basically the same level. Yeah, they're hiding some stuff. Okay, so let's go look at a couple of things. Let's see if this is... I just have to show. I did find, and sometimes what happens, and it frustrates me, that looks like a face. That looks like a face. Nose, mouth, chin. Back to the art thing again. When you spend hundreds of hours drawing body parts from people that come into model for human figure drawing, you get used to seeing the body from every angle. And when the body turns and twists and bends, you see that. And that's what I see a lot when I'm looking at some of this stuff. There's a lot of body parts out here, and that's what I'm getting ready to show you. There's so many. I couldn't even, we would be here for hours and hours and hours doing all this. That's how much information there is. But that's totally a face. And I find it very strange because the mouth is odd. It's like, I don't know. It's just odd. But it seems to be what they'll do is I'll pin something and then they'll blur it after I leave and then come back. I can't see it again. And it's frustrating. But I don't know if you can notice right here where my little hand is, there's a doorway. And I'm sorry, but that's an obvious doorway. These are obvious buildings. They're different colors. They don't match the scenery. You know, all this other rocks, and then you have this stuff. Then you have black and white here. It doesn't match up. It's almost like grass is growing here, which is not. It's there. It's in Antarctica. They're finding it all over. And actually, the underground of the ice shelf is between 60 and 70 degrees. But just looking around, you just find things that shouldn't be there. It shouldn't look like anything but organic. It shouldn't look like a building. It shouldn't look like steps. It shouldn't look like a statue. Okay, here's a skin sample. See this right here? That's skin. If you go look at things online and just up close skin textures, you'll see that this is skin. Okay. Now, what the heck is that? Then you find odd things like this. Which that looks like a building. There's a trash can. Some of these things are so obvious. I don't know why they try to hide it. And look at here. You can see perfect, like a backwards C, like a trash compartment outside. It's really ridiculous what they're trying to do. Seriously. They really think that we're stupid. They really do. They think that we are so stupid. But let's look at this real quick and idea how big this skin portion is right here. Just this line from here to here. And I'll show you how big these giants really were. 6,000 feet just on that one little part. 1.14 miles. Okay. So let's go to this huge city over here. See, I mean, if you look at it and you look at maps and you're used to looking at maps for like street maps to find obs and things like that, these are so familiar to me on how it's set up. I do not know what that was. That was. Let me see somebody here. Hi, Linda. Yes, it is. Hi, Linda. How's it going? I just heard some weird noises. And I was like, what the heck? Anyways, you can tell that when you're looking at maps, this looks like a city. Looks like a city. And sometimes when you're going around and you're looking at shadows as well, you can see the outline of a city in the shadows. And it's like some things just don't make sense. I've seen so many skulls and so many heads. Like this right here looks like a face. And I know that we see things in things, but I've been looking at this a long time, and this stuff is just crazy, crazy stuff. Sorry, hold on just 1 second. Yeah, I stream on both DLive and YouTube, but I don't have access to both of them at the same time right now, till I can get more paychecks coming in, because it costs extra. So I can only stream on one platform, and I do YouTube because I can download the videos when I get done, and then I can share them other places, and reach more people. But anyways, back to this. There's a lot of things that it's overwhelming at times to me to see how much they've hidden from us. I mean, basically, we have to relearn everything. This looks like all city stuff to me. Even like, and not necessarily. I mean, I'm assuming it's current, but a lot of it could be ancient. I mean, look at that obvious door. Let's see how big that is. Here, move over here. And what I do is I measure the opening. So what, you're not gonna measure that? Oh, miles, that's why. Feet. Here we go. It's probably like 13 feet, something like that. 7 feet. So that's pretty small. So definitely human there. Definitely human occupancy. No giants in those doorways. Okay. Let me show you, and we could just go along this whole strip of outcrop here. Hundreds of things. Let's let it clear. I'm not going to do that. I have specific things to show you. Yeah, see, it's not gonna, see what I mean? But it won't pull in the clarity. I want to vote for transparency in Antarctica. Here's a great example. This little shadowed area here says a lot, okay? They have built something that is white to match the snow because it doesn't line up with the shadows. In other words, I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It's almost like that. It looks like a stair path, but it looks like almost like it's a wall or something. And then they have these buildings behind it. So it's really odd, but you can tell that these are all buildings. It's just ridiculous what they're trying to hide. It really is. And it's just getting... Okay, let's see if any of my bodies are in here. I found quite a few mummified bodies. Bodies everywhere. Sculptures, statues, everywhere. Now see, this is an odd thing here, right here. And I can't get too close because it'll just absolutely get way too blurry. Let me see. I'm assuming that it's going to be this way because we're still getting a little bit of light on it. So when you spin around too, and you spin things around, it looks different. Now it looks like, okay, by looking at this shadow here, this is a very tall, like, spike type building. But why doesn't this building have a shadow? So now I'm thinking that, well, maybe this is an overhang of some kind and this is an opening underneath it. And how big is this? Is this the enormity of it? And this is the top with the snow on the top? Is it the snow on a roof and that's an opening? Or an overhang with a shadow and that's a door? These are the things that. Oh, awesome. Oh, thank you, Linda. Appreciate that very much. I totally forgot to do that. I meant to do that. I was kind of crunching for time. My internet turned off for some weird reason, was off for a while this morning, and I was kind of in panic mode, uh, wondering if it was going to come back on because I've had some problems over the past couple months. It's been kind of ridiculous. Gotta take a drink. Nice plug for Kickstart. Okay. Now, let's look at this guy. I'll take you to one of the bodies. My body lies over the ocean. My body lies over the sea. My body lies over the ocean. Bring back my body to me. Okay, so getting back to drawing the human figure. Let's look at the human figure in Antarctica. Reminds me of my expeditions into the wilds of Afghanistan. We were compelled to live off of food and water for several days because we lost our corkscrew. Ha! W.C. Fields. I think he said that in the 40s. Anyways, the human anatomy. As we look at this here, this is right shoulder scapula with a right arm extended. What the hell all this is over here? I don't know. But this is definitely a right shoulder scapula. Okay? And there's the back, little hunched there. Now let's go down. And it comes down, and actually, it's summer right now. Yeah, it's summer at the end of the summer. So they may have gotten some storms already. So there'll be more snow melt than normal. I was kind of hoping for more on this one. Here's another skin sample. And you can tell it's obvious skin. Let's let it clear up a little bit here. Focus in, focus in. Here's another building sticking up. It's probably like a monument or something. Here's more city down here in the snow. It's just some things, they're pretty obvious. And like this stuff, the shadows. And I don't put, let me probably put those on here. That's probably gonna matter. Okay. I don't normally run with the borders on it because I want to see things without lines and crap in the way. As you can see here, these are obvious buildings. And that's another thing I use to judge my information when I'm looking at things. Even though they're trying to pixelate it and change it and make it look like it's actual mountainside instead of buildings, they still don't realize that we have a thin brain and that when we look at buildings like this, it stays in our brain. So when we go over here and look at something blurry, it still looks like this. We still see that, even if it's blurry. So they're trying to trick us, and it's stupid because they can't. I'm just using Google Earth Pro, Linda. It's an app downloadable free on Play Store. Also in the Microsoft for your computer. But I recommend the Pro series. It has extra. Actually, I don't think you can get the Pro on your phone. you can only get it on your PC because it comes with the extra tools that you can't access on your phone. You have a lot of extra things that you can use, which you can see my on my bar over here on the left. I have a lot of stuff in here. Too much stuff. But something I want to show you guys on this particular thing that I found is, and this is just one, I have several creatures that I found. Oh, this is the shoulder, okay, and this is the back. So let's go up to the head now. Are you ready? Are you ready to see the head of this creature? Are you ready? Ooh, what's that? Squirrel! Oh, look at that. We have a little tiny building out in the middle of nowhere, all by itself. Oh, look at that. And it's not going to come in focus because you know why? Because they're trying to hide it from us. Stewart. Okay, so let's look at the head of this creature. Ready? All right. So I had some issues with this. Okay. It was an obvious neck. So if that's the right scapula, the neck goes up here, I would assume that this must be neck, chin, right? See over here, this sloping, looks like the back of a skull, like when you bend your head back like that, and you look at that transition from your head to your neck, how it goes. That's exactly what that transition is from here to here. Let me see if that's, you're seeing what I'm showing. Oh, look at it, because, yeah. But you should be able to see it. Okay, so if this is the back of the head of the skull of this creature, let's take a look at the head. You ready? Check that out. Head, jaw. What's that look like? Right there. See the jaw there? Those could be teeth right there. More than likely. A lot of these are right here. From what I'm understanding and a lot of things that I've found in my research, and also keep in mind that mythology will become history overnight. They have Google servers on the Dia computer room floors. Really? That's really interesting. I'm not surprised though. They actually have a lot of things that are available to people at the library that, like if you don't have, access or money to pay for everything online, which is insane, that all this stuff, it's just insanity. I can't imagine how some people afford all the stuff that they do. But just the fact that oh yeah, absolutely no, Google is controlled by the government. And I know that they can mask a lot of things, but can't they can't cover it all because it's obvious. We live in cities. We're going to know what it looks like. And it's like, but when we're here and they're trying to hide it, that's what just cracks me up. It's like, why are you trying to do that anyways? Because we're smart enough to know that that's not mountain, that's buildings. And they talk about, let me dip out of this one for just a minute. And I'm going to pull up another one and let's look at that really quick. And it's basically just basically just Antarctica. And they're always talking about stuff like, okay, let me pull. Oh, where'd you go? Okay, I lost my screen. Sometimes this stuff is really strange. Sharing that. Okay, share this. Yeah, share this right now. Holy cow. Dr. Demento. Antarctica. Make sure that, oh my goodness gracious. You're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, Antarctica. I should have opened it in a separate window because I can't alt tab to get to it. Anyways, they talk about it, southern continent, which that particular part where they name it is Antarctica. But I just think it's very interesting. Okay, if you look at this map over here and you take that circle of center point for all those places that it reaches out, I think it's very amazing that the way that they did the globe is they opened it or they closed it up. They like scrolled it up. And if we just unscroll Antarctica, it would fill in the entire Pacific, like that whole open area that they don't fly over for. Well, why don't they fly over the Pacific Ocean? Well, because you can't. So yeah, weird stuff. But they talk about that I found most interesting about what they cover in the information in Antarctica on Wikipedia was just general information. I don't even know if this is. Yeah, it kind of talks about. They talk about. I mean, the population. And they're like, oh, only 2,000 people live there. Like, to some 200 in the winter, some bullshit like that. But all the cities and all the steam coming up from the buildings and all the stuff that I actually know is on there, because I've even seen I don't know if anybody knows who Dan Pena is, Pena, but he's a super rich guy on YouTube and other platforms that does these classes, these young entrepreneurs that want to be successful. And he's like a real asshole, but he's just smart and he just doesn't listen to bullshit. He doesn't deal with bullshit. He calls it out when he's, it's being thrown in. But he made some comments about Antarctica, and I'll see if I can find it for the next show because I have way too much information to do in one show. He talks about knowing about Antarctica, and let me tell you, when these rich people go, sir, there better be facilities for them. I mean, there better be pomp and circumstance for these people because they are paying for it. Yes, remote places with mystery. And what's even funnier about that is, and get this is actually what's even funnier to me about Antarctica was I was questioning Antarctica in 2008 and 2009 because when I was gay, my girlfriend at the time, her mother still is, I'm sure, is a nurse in Antarctica. So, how can you tell me that these things aren't brought to my attention by God in whatever way that He does His, revealing to people that has ended me on this place and time? I know way more information about Antarctica than I ever wanted to know. or really care to know other than just knowing. Yes, that's exactly it, Linda. See no laws governing it, so they can experiment. That is probably where I've I've been watching. I even watched a video this morning that these guys were talking about how they believe an entity is in Antarctica, and that is the entity that's basically in charge. Do what I we say entities, which I know who the entities are, and there's a lot of people in my small circle that know who these entities are through physical experience. I also know that AI is involved. I also know blood is involved. I also know that the temperature under Antarctica uh, ice is between 60 and 70 degrees, normal, year round. Um, I do know that they have found uh, shrimp underneath Antarctica that survive the colds of Antarctica underwater. I also know that the ecologists out there have found expanses of um, growth as far as plant and things like that. Flora and I don't know about fauna, but flora definitely, and to an extent. And I also know fact that they're collecting asteroids out of the entirety of the ice wall, which is Antarctica, which encircles the entire our world as we know it, flat. If that's what you believe, I believe that. Just because the Bible tells us that, explains that. I'd also like to point something out. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick again, and just look at some. Say, 2,000 people is what are there, and I would say there's probably between 50 and 150,000, and that's being generous. I mean, actually, no, that's being. Oh, what's the opposite for generous? Like, that would actually be like, I would just be saying a very small portion. It's way bigger than that because if they're manning a full sized airport, because the plane that Ghislaine Maxwell was on was the biggest plane that Epstein had. Okay, so it has to be an airport that can facilitate that type of a plane. And for a rich person, you better have the shit there for them when they get there, because they're paying for it. They're paying to go. They're paying to land. It's a big secret. It's like Antarctica, the biggest secret society on the planet. That's what Antarctica title should be. The biggest secret on the planet, because they've hidden the most stuff there. And they're claiming, well, we get 10,000 meteorites a year. Well, duh. If the ice wall makes up the biggest part of this whole entire expanse as we know it, well, sure, you're going to find more than anywhere else. Which is really interesting because meteors are body parts from creatures. Yeah. And Roger from Mud Fossil University sent in giant specimen, had the DNA tested on them, and they came back 99% human and 1% unknown. That 1% unknown was the Nephilim portion. Oh, you do? What do you have? I mean, Linda, that's the thing about technology. I think there are some things that are absolutely awesome that they help people. Do you know what I'm saying? But when they change people, that's DARPA. I'm trying to think. Oh, I just also found out that you can look at that on the next show as well. Let me make a couple of notes here because I definitely want to bring that up. The islands, the islands that surround Antarctica. Guess what their names are? All the variants of the COVID. Hope I don't get banned for that one. Islands that surround are the variants. The variants. So yeah, that one's kind of weird. Ha! Um, so yeah, so let me get off of this page here. Stop screen. Okay. So this is, let's move that up. I get so much junk in the background. It's like my other studio, all in the same room. Okay, so now let's look at. Let me get rid of that. Okay, let's look at this real quick. About what a mud fossil is, so you'll know what I'm talking about when we go in and look a little bit more at these body parts. Mud fossils are perfectly preserved, mineralized, now stone, soft tissue due to continuous wet anaerobic mud pack conditions. Now, when we talk about mineralized, preserved, soft tissue, continuous wet anaerobic, and mud pack conditions, what that means is what it was that was caught in the mud, what that was the liquid of the mud mixed with the liquid. Was it water? Was it seawater? Was it bile from giants? Was it blood? Was it whatever it was? Okay. Um, if you keep that in mind, even as I go further into my mud fossils, and you can look on my YouTube, I have some videos in there of the ones that I've found. I have not ventured outside of town. I've found everything in parking lots, and I've found thousands of specimens. So it's like when God said that they covered the earth, he meant it. I mean, they covered the earth. But because of the conditions that these bodies and creatures died in the water, in the bile, and the blood, and whatever, depends on the color of how they end up, the color. Yeah, it's just a lot of factors, but that's why we have many. And I found this really interesting, and my roommate wasn't around that I could show her, but I made my turkey today, and I cut up the giblets. Oh, I want to go. I'm gonna go, Stephanie. I'm trying to get my roommate. I'm thinking about asking her. Maybe we can go. I don't know, sometime this week. I want to go see it. I forgot what I was saying. I was doing the turkey, and I cut up the giblets to put in my gravy. Sometimes I put it in the dressing, sometimes I put it in gravy. But I was cutting the heart, slicing it, like, like long ways, not the heart. I was slicing it this way. So when I cut those pieces off, y'all, do you know what they look like? I'm so dumb. I should have realized what they were. I should have realized what they were, because they're going to have the biggest membrane on the outside of them too. They have, because there's, pulling on your heartstrings. Heartstrings are a real thing. They actually hold your heart together with a fascia that coats the outer part of your heart, and the strings hold that tissue together. That's why they're called heartstrings. So when people use that, it's very interesting. But when I cut it in those slices, you know what it looked like? freaking geodes. Like when you cut open a geode, I am not shitting you. I'm sitting there going, that's what geodes are. They're hearts. They're freaking hearts. And they're cutting open these hearts. And they come in every size. I mean, have you seen some of these? They're ginormous. Okay? So, yeah. So back to this. Let me get... we can remove that. Let's need some music in the background. Let's see if we can hear it. I have to turn it down before they ding me. Can you guys hear that at all? Hey, Gizmos! How's it going? Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everyone! Okay, so let's go back to... So we got 57. I don't want to go too long, because I don't want it to be too freaking boring. I don't want to put anybody through that. Let's look. I have an idea. Does everybody... Okay, this is going to sound really strange. Bear with me. Okay? This excites me not in the way that it's weird. It excites me because it's, as a child of God, I feel very innocent with a lot of things, and it's very silly. And I'm still a kid about a lot of things, and I can't help that. And I'm glad I am. I'm glad I didn't totally adult up, because adulting sucks. I'd rather be a kid again. Yeah, and I forgot what I was saying again. Oh, nipples. Want to see some giant nipples? Okay, they're male nipples. They're not women, okay? So don't go there. I'm not a weirdo. Well, I'm a weirdo, but not that kind of weirdo. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. Merry Christmas. Anyways, the nipples. Did I put them in here? Let's see. Word school. Can you guys hear the music? Gotta tell me if you hear the music or not. Otherwise, this looks really stupid if nobody can hear it. Okay. Anyways, okay, so I thought I wrote it down. Where didn't I? Oh, here it is. I didn't have to because I already had it written down. Okay, so I'm going to go to Google Earth Pro, and we're going to put in, here we go, 73 space 33 feet space 21 inches space south. Then we're going to put in 64 degrees 35 feet and 42 inches east. Okay, you ready? Oh, maybe I should turn it up. Wait, how far are we in the song? Okay. Oh. Of course. Anyways, okay, whatever. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Oh, just messed it up. Here we go. Boom! Come on. Yeah, here we go. 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 Yo. Nipple. 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 Oops. I don't know what the heck I just did. Just messed up the music. Here, let's do this one. No. Let's do this one. No, I don't like those. Here we go. These suck. What about this one? Here we go. This one will work. Okay. So here we go. Where are we? Where'd you go? There we are. Okay, so we have giant nipples. Woohoo! Giant nipples. And if I'm not mistaken, last year, because of the weather had receded so much snow, I could see the other. Well, to be honest with you, from what I'm seeing, gizmos, is there are so many ancient cities um, and current um, cities in Antarctica that there are thousands and thousands of people living there. Um, and most of them have access to underground because there's no outside traveling. Like you don't see any roads, you don't see normal things that go on top of the. You just don't see it. It's not. It's the weirdest thing. But there are cities in almost every single. Because see, this is the thing. When you can go, and this is what I was talking about in the beginning of the show, Gizmos, is when I'm looking at this stuff on Google Earth, they blur out everything they don't want you to see. And I can also tell you that they've blurred out 95% of the ocean floor. And I could show you thousands of things. I have a separate show for that. What are they really hiding in the bottom of the ocean? There's so much growth going on at the bottom of the ocean and building and structures being built and shit going on that people just will not listen to me and will not listen to the people that are trying to tell people what's going on. I've watched, and I know that Google Earth has the access, they have the control, have like this, but you cannot slow progress. You can't, I mean, even if you're looking at, yes, blurring out, exactly, Gizmos, blurring out. They blur out everything, but if you spend a little time on the fringes of these areas where they blur out, you're going to see shit that you don't see, and you're never going to not see it again. Because once you see that shit and you get in your brain that they're hiding this stuff, you're going to want to know more. And that's why I'm here 6 years later doing this. Because I have so much information. I mean, pages and pages of information to talk about this stuff. They have in Antarctica, they did a treaty in 1952, I think it was 1952, they solidified it. That's when they made the treaty. No, I'm sorry, it was in 1950, when they started it, because it's up in 2050, okay? And they started out with 38 countries originally, and now there's 100. No, they started out with like 8, I think, and now there's 138. No, it is not all frozen. It is not all frozen. The treaty, I believe the transparency is coming. but they're going to try and fake us out with some stuff first, with the blue beam and everything like that coming. Because, I don't know if y'all heard or not, but the 5G, they're dropping the 5G for the 4th or the 5th of January. Forbes posted something yesterday or the day before. So, and also today is when Italy launched that telescope. I think somebody posted it in the chat, the Crown chat. That's where I saw it too. Yeah, in the 19th, they had 30 nations on the Antarctica Treaty. And now there's 138 nations on the treaty. The way that I'm looking, I was showing the shadows, how the shadows fall in Antarctica and how they're all different on different parts of the continent. Okay, that's like bugging me now. I like it, but now it's bugging me. Um, how have next is what I want to look at as far as the maps, the ancient maps. You can look, and I might bring those up in the next show, and talk about those in a little bit, because I showed a couple of them, like the Prius map. It's an ancient map. You can see a lot of things on there, but there's also in the Library of Congress, which I might pull that up while we're here today. In the Library of Congress, there are ancient maps listed that show the monsters, the mythological monsters located in the areas that they said that. And on the ancient maps, and we'll get to that in the next one, I didn't want to, completely go into everything because it was way too long. But on the ancient maps, it shows, one of my other videos I did probably a couple of weeks ago, I showed the ancient maps has classifications of giants. And on an ancient map for Antarctica, and I'll show that on the next show, shows the different types of giants. Some were cannibals. Some they didn't have heads. Their head, like their faces were on their chests. They had one-footed giants. It's weird. It's weird, but I can tell you that I have found some of these creatures, mud fossils. I have found them in my town, not even going outside, staying in town in the parking lots. I have found a fairy head. I have found a duffel pod, several duffel pods. You know them by their feet and their butt cracks. Back to the body part stuff. You see what you see, you know what you know. And when you look at things, I could show you 4 samples of a duffel pod, and and I have a video on my YouTube if you want to go look at it, it's there. And you can see their obvious butt cracks. I'm sorry, but you can tell that's their freaking butt cracks. So there's that. Digital Antarctica, why it always looks slated to focus, especially at that center hole, and we talked about that. If we spiraled that, like unspiraled that, like if it spiraled to the center and opened that all up, bingo, there's our ice wall. So that's how they did it. The easiest way that they could do it is just roll it up a ball, basically. Once again, the shadows don't match up with the path of the sun if it's in one place. Okay, because the circular, or the direction of the sun that goes, cycle of the sun for the day, whatever, how it goes and everything, that doesn't match up. Also, let me show you real quick here, and you'll find this interesting. I wonder if I've listed it as the firmament. I found the firmament. Let me just go ahead and get to it. It just takes me a minute to find it sometimes. But I think it's Yep, I did. Okay. See where I said firmament? Okay. Now, the reason I say that this is the firmament is because, and they talk about the firmament in the Bible, as above, below, as above is below. There are, on these ancient maps, I'll talk about that when I show them in the next show. These ancient maps show so much information that we should be paying attention to. This is um, the the truth of the maps to me, these ancient maps that I've looked at. Here is where the truth comes in that I can see as proof that proves that what we're looking at, which is very odd to me too, because they see what I'm looking at through Google Earth. So I find that very odd. Yes, I am in Colorado, Stephanie. So here you can see, and this is way back, uh, looking back. We'll go in closer and look at it. You can see these blocky, pillory type things. Okay, let's go in here and look at this. And what I'm telling you, it's exactly the same on these ancient maps as what we're seeing right here. Okay, but what I also want you to pay attention to is how, look at the difference between the actual existence of um, the island. Okay, then they have this little expanse of water that you can see. You see the ice floating on it. You see some green stuff over here. That's probably a green iceberg. It's more than likely blood because algae's growing on it. That's what that is. Some type of fluid that had blood in it. Something that the algae loves blood. So if you see green ice, that means blood somewhere close by. Algae, lichen, stuff like that loves blood. You see it growing on rocks. Those rocks have blood in it. Okay. Sometimes when you break the rocks open, the bloody rocks, you can wet them, and because basically the iron oxide in rocks is blood, and clay, ceramic clay, is the skin of giants. Green, brown, white. Okay. We had different colored giants too. And there's also stones that we don't know about, that we're just finding out about. But anyways, back to the firmament. See these, I'm sorry, but can you I mean seriously, see that? Look at that. That is a support structure for a building. Now what I'm thinking that this possibly is, and another thing that solidifies the unraveling of Antarctica into the ice wall, is how this is set up um, around like a sword. But anytime they're blurring stuff, like look at these divots, and they have concave and convex stuff going on. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we've got holes that this blanket, whatever they blanket that they're using to obscure the bottom of the ocean, it is partial to holes and divots and um, structures. So you're still going to have areas like that where you're going, what the hell's going on here? So what this tells me is this is a grid. And not only is it a grid, but it's a grid right next to the firmament. Okay? So what the hell's going on over here? Then you have weird stuff like this. And it's like, y'all, let me tell you stuff. Okay. When Jonah was in the whale, the way that the scripture reads, it's almost like Jonah dies because the fish goes into hell in the ocean, deep dives into the depths of hell. And maybe that's why they're obscuring it, because of the things that you can see when you're looking at the ocean. And I'll give you one example I'll leave you with for the ocean bottom as into why I say they're covering it all up. Because I found patterns, drawing patterns by a creature on the bottom of the ocean. Let's go look, okay? I already have it marked out here on my board. So let's go. I'm still alive, right? Yeah. Yeah, there are portals here too, because I have found, see, I found a Stargate. I have found a lot of things, and a lot of times I forget to mark them. So it's really frustrating because you'll never find them again. I found a path. I think I found more portals under the ocean than I did in Antarctica. But I believe that they just because I found a Stargate, couldn't find it again. I think maybe I still have it. I'm not sure. And I consider those the portals too. But yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of, but I found them under the ocean, definitely. I found some really strange things. But let's go look at this snail thing, and I'll show you what I mean. Get ready to get your mind blown. Because I really didn't know what I was looking at first. But I'm sitting there going, this pattern, these are patterns. There is a creature making these patterns. And what it reminded me of, see, look at this. Okay, now this is, and also, we're also seeing on top of the blanket. Okay, now look at this stuff here. See this like repetitive squares. I mean, this stuff reeks city blocks, that kind of thing. And look at this building. Huge. Big shadow. That could be a sculpture. That could be a sculpture. A lot of sculptures under here. A lot of sculptures. But look at these designs. Okay. Oh, that's some. Let's see. No, that's not. But see the designs here? See the trails? These are snail tracks. And remember the snail in Dr. DeVille? Remember? Snail? Now, it's not that kind of a snail. It's a spiral shell. But still, I will show you one more thing after this. And the reason I have come to the conclusion that it's snails, not only do these blurred creatures look like snails, but it's also because of the other creature that I found that definitely is what it is. And it's 3 miles wide, and it has claws that are 1.5 miles long. So that's next. I'll show you that here in just a minute. But let's go look at this real close, and I'll show you what I can of the snails and what I think the snails are. And they're basically, okay, so everybody's had fish tanks. Agree? Pretty much? Your kids, you, grandparent, whatever, whoever had fish tanks. Remember those stupid little freshwater snails? Remember those with the little spiral shell? Remember those? That's what these look like. Okay? So keep that in mind as we look here at this stuff. And you'll see what I mean. I can't get over how much they look like that. Right spot. Might be better where we were. Let me turn this around again here. See, like, look at this here. This is what I mean by the blurring. For whatever reason, they've left this open and this blurred. So something very important and clear is right here they don't want us to see. Whereas this is kind of still blurry, they can get away with it. But look at these trails. I mean, they're just everywhere. They're just everywhere. Okay, so let me find the snail. There's a lot of them, and you got to look kind of hard for them. But this reminds me of a lot of movies, and a lot of them I don't necessarily like or will ever watch all the way through, but I've seen clips and things like that. And I think it was Hellraiser. See, like, look at this right here. Right here. That looks like a freaking screaming face. Would you not agree? Screaming face. Screaming face. Eye, hair, nose, mouth. There's another partial. And there's another partial face. These things are really freaking creepy, I'm telling you. So maybe this is one. No, that's not it. They're very... Now I can't find one. Figures. Where did I have... Where did you go for that? I know I've got you here. Oh. There we go. Okay. There. That's better. Okay, here's one. Maybe they're mechanical, which one of my friends said it's a possibility. But this is so strange because here's one right here. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Right here. Right here is the snail. Okay. Now, these are the ridges that it's making in the soil or whatever. But this is the tail. Here's the spiral shell. The back of the shell's right here. There's the top of the shell. And then there's the front shell. And then there's the... And you know how it just comes out a part of it, right? It's really weird because the shell is way smaller than the bodies, which I find odd. And then the heads are up here. But they're all the same. They're all the same. And as you go around and you look through all they're all the same. But they're all making these patterns because there is nowhere else on the ocean floor. See here, here's another one. Spiral stuff a lot of times. Or like where they're resting. Like over there where we were looking at. But there's so much going on. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, now, since we did that, let me show you my giant crab. You ready? 3.5 miles wide, 1.5 mile long pinchers. Right there is our crab. Okay, how do I know it's a crab, you ask? Well, because of the pinchers right there, folks. Right there, folks. And right there is the crab face. And up here is the camouflage to blend in with the surrounding area rocks. Oh, and what is that, you say? That looks like a path. That looks like a path. Oh, and what is this, do you say? Oh, more blurring? Huh, interesting. Wonder why. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of things when I'm looking under the ocean, you see the lights from the windows. That's how I know people are under the ocean. Yeah. Yeah. If you knew how much, yeah. Another show. But anyways, let me show you how big this crab is. This crab is, let's go miles because it's that big. Oops. Okay, so let's go from one end to the other end of the football crab. Okay, 2.10 miles. Okay, and the claw from where we started there is 1.52 miles. That is one big crab. Would you not agree? Okay, so back to Antarctica. Whee! What the hell is that? But from everything that I've found, what they say is going on in Antarctica is not what's going on in Antarctica. And everybody's starting to really question it and research it more. And for the next thing that I'm working on is some of the people that have been named in the area, because I have a feeling either they're related to the elite, the Rothschilds and the bloodlines and whatever, or they're either. No, I forgot what I was going to say. It's very frustrating to see all these things and to know all this stuff, and then they're telling us, oh, there's only 2,000 people there. Yeah, bullshit. Bull to the shit. A lot of Indian palisades and kivas and things like that. A lot of these buildings in ancient cities are set up on levels, like kiva levels, um, Indian hierarchy. The bottom, is the peasants. You move up in class, and then the top is the leaders. That kind of thing. And I mean, look at this stuff here. Obvious city. Hello, that's an obvious city. Obvious buildings. And let's look how big they are. Like, let's take one of these buildings and look. Like, let's just look at this one right here. Oh, here, this one right here. Wait, clear. Let's look at this tall one right here. And it goes to about right there. That's only 7 feet tall. So that's one story. And I'm sure I got that wrong a little bit. It's probably taller. So that's one story right there. Okay. So let's look at a couple more things and then. Okay, something also I find very interesting is they talk about these blood falls in Antarctica. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, but blood coming out, if there's red coming out with water or fluids or anything, it's blood. I know that there's some algae and stuff like that, but we cannot believe them about anything. Seriously, we cannot believe them. We have to do our own research and get our own information because we're being lied to about everything. But you can see here that the blood, see the red? Now, I find that pretty odd. That looks like a set. But it's just strange that so much, some of the areas, it's like these creatures, and I didn't even, let me get to how they look like the mummies. I want to show you guys that before we go, because it's super, let's see. Small town, alien or Egyptian sculpture. I even found I don't know if it was a carving or what, but it was like a spaceship and it had this lady's face on it. This might be it. I don't know. Let's let it focus in a little bit. But some things you can tell they're obviously hiding, blurring, and they're sculptures, and they're very large sculptures. Like this one, for instance. Let's see, whatever that one is. Sculpture. Okay. This shadow area says it's a type of viewing enclosure because there's a shadow, like it's got a peak, there's a shadow all around this figure. And being an artist and how you display a sculpture is how I recognize a lot of these things as sculptures because I've seen sculptures displayed in every single way you can think of. Being an art major, it's a sculpture major. It's what you know. Now I know why I went to school for sculpture instead of 2D. But there are things going on here. Another one. Let me move that ticket right here that you can see. That is an obvious building right there. The back shadow, there's something behind it. It could be another building, could be something in front, could be a machine vehicle. I don't know. They're just hiding everything. There's nothing that they're telling us. I don't believe anything that they say. Nothing. Okay, so getting back to this dragon's head where we started. And here's another one, huge compared to this one. Maybe this is the baby and this is the grown up. Because it kind of looks the same up here on the head. Okay, the neck coming down here on the shoulder maybe. Or maybe grab this one and it's taking it like, you're coming with me because I'm going to eat you. Yum, yum, nom, nom, nom. Because that's what they were just saying. Anything and everything. But that's another large creature's body. I found, here's a hand claw. There's some things you just can't miss. You just can't. It's obvious. It's just stinking obvious. Let's go. Jaw with teeth. Oh, we already did that one. What is it? We'll do a couple more. Giant crabs, exactly. Crazy, right? And I've even found things like that is suspended in the air above the ice, above the snow, because you can see it, and it's like a what do they call the Star Wars the jet fighters? It looks like it's pointed in the front, and it looks just like one of those, or like the destroyer. You know how the destroyers were pointed? It looked just like that, but under the shadow. The shadow, even though they blurred the ship, you can still see the shadow shape. So it's like, you guys can try and hide stuff from us, but you can't hide it all. You just can't. Now this one's interesting because see how we have this divot again, and there's a raised thing in the center. See? There's just so much. There's just so much. Can't even. And this is probably an outpost here. Let's let this focus in. Now, the next one that I have, and the reason I'm doing this show is because disclosure is coming. Okay, folks? Disclosure is coming. And I want people to be awake to know that when the giants come out from under the ground, because that's what's in Antarctica, I believe, are giants. And we've got people there that are dealing with them, talking to them, planning things with them. Of course, the enemy. Okay? So I'm doing this because God told me to do this. Been telling me for 6 years now. that this is information that I'm supposed to give to you guys so that you have it in the back of your mind, so that when these these psyops come, more psyops, you'll know what to expect. And also keep in mind this blue beam thing, which I'm going to do a whole show on that. Remember one thing very, very important about what God said in Revelations about the rapture. It will be, we have to be ready. We have to always be ready, because it will be the twinkling of an eye. In the blink of an eye is when it's going to happen. When we're whisked away or things change. The blink of an eye. So think about this with blue beam. If we're watching something, we're watching something, and it's not God. Because if we see God, it's going to be blink of an eye experience. Blink of an eye. You're either going to be saved or you're going to be decimated. It's going to be one or the other. Okay? So that's the other part of why I'm here doing this, is I don't want everybody freaking out, because I don't want those hearts to fail to be your alls. Because when you see these giants coming up, and I've already, it's so funny, because even back when I first started this, I considered myself a Nephilim hunter, because I was searching out Nephilim parts in rocks. I was hunting them. And I look back now, and it's like I'm being called into a war I had no idea I was being called into, because this is huge. And this is just the easy stuff to see in Antarctica. I haven't even showed you anything on any of the continents. There's dragons, like the dragon I showed you coming in. There's one, the China dragon. I have several videos. If you get a chance, check them out if you have time. I just don't want to rehash stuff I've already done in other videos. But it's super important to know these things, so that not only do you know them so that you can guard your heart from the false psyop stuff, that you can be ready and know that they've had this in motion and planned for a long time. The next show is going to be with the surveillance and the names of the variants of the jab. I suggest, if this interests you at all, to check Gordon Marquis on YouTube. But transparency in Antarctica is a huge thing. Oh, and here's the list. The Antarctica Land Treaty, it says 1961, but I'm not really sure what's going on with that, because they've changed the date on it since the 40s. So I don't know what they're messing around with, but they're messing around with something with the treaty in Antarctica. Either that, or they're just adding people to it, because they're taking their own areas. Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and the United States. Things that I research on Antarctica: the size, the population, the location on the Google Earth Pro, flora and fauna, geological, scientific, security. They have no police there, by the way. Okay. Transportation, political things, food resources, water, map of all, rules, visitors, weather, snow and ice shelf. Then I had some questions about the treaty. What happened globally, which is funny, because my roommate and I have been on this trek this past month, and I've even brought Greg Harvey into it with the what will be revealed. Here, let me pull that. No, I think I erased it already. Oh, I think I put it here. Here it is, right here. On Luke 12:2, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known, in the King James Version. Whoops. Okay. So, and I don't know if I shared a video on a couple of platforms. I think I shared it in Greg Harvey's Clout Hub Miscellaneous or whatever, but it's a 5 hour or 8, I think it's a 5 hour video about them uncovering these ancient buildings underneath our current buildings. Like right now, what we see is the very tip top pinnacle pieces of the actual buildings that are underneath all of these structures. And it's insane, you guys. Um, yeah, and my whole thing with the world's people need to demand a full transparency on Antarctica because that's where they got the quantum computers. That was the other thing. Let's talk about that real quick and why I know there's things going on out there. It is, along with Greenland, the coldest places to run quantum computers. Okay. They can put the quantum part of it up into the outer reaches of the Antarctica up above, and then they can utilize the underground for the space to occupy. Okay, so I would not be surprised if they have machines making machines. Why Antarctica and why now? Because of the hidden secrets, of course. Curious visitors, and what I mean by that is, guess who visited Antarctica? The elite. Like, of course, we know I already mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell and her big, huge Epstein, huge jet plane that landed in the middle of Antarctica in the middle of their winter, which is supposedly inaccessible during those times. Yeah. Tom Hanks, Prince Andrew. What else is going on in Antarctica? Is where they're taking our children for slave labor, possibly, even our people? I know they must be doing that under the ocean because of all the building that they under there. They got to be getting slave labor from somewhere, or they're just popping out their little lizard babies everywhere. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah. Lots of information. Where? Oh, let me go back to this. Comments. Yeah, I am too in a way, but I've already been researching enough gizmos that I pretty much know. Oh, and think about this too. The movie Transformer. Where did they find the guy, the bad guy? Where did they find the bad guy? In Antarctica, frozen. Then they put him in a thing and they tried to. Remember? Yeah. Okay. Machine. What if you haven't seen any of my other videos, especially like on the New Age stuff or the Palladium, I suggest watching those just because all of it's related. The quantum computers are going to be used. What they're going to do, these people that work with quantum healing hypnosis therapy, QHHT, what these people are doing is they're channeling demons into other humans and then removing them after the session. Okay? So what the channelers are going to do, because of the type of AI that they're creating, it has a whatever that they can channel the demons into this AI. So that's part of what's going on over there. There are ancient castles and parapets in Antarctica. My next show, I'll probably go around a little bit more and we'll play around with that a little bit. I really seriously suggest looking at the Library of Congress at ancient maps and monsters. You can find the mermaids and things like that. I think that's all the basic information that I have. I'll bring the rest of it into the next show. But basically, ancient cities found all over the continent, maps in the old Antarctica, things that just do not make sense, like stairs large enough for a giant. I found stairs that were so many stories high, my architect friend had a hard time dealing with it. Had a hard time dealing with it. I mean, they were ginormous. Ginormous. Why the need to possess the continent even from the 1800s? I still believe something happened, which from these mud flood videos that I've been watching, pictures of no people and things like that, you got to wonder about some stuff. You just got to wonder. Why all the secrecy, too? Why celebrities and dignitaries visit Antarctica all the time? That just tells me they have facilities there that can facilitate the elite. Anywhere the elite go, they're going to make sure they got shit there that keeps them warm, keeps them fed, keeps them happy. Okay? It's just general logic. And God revealed something to me very interesting because I was having a hard time dealing with just the word reasoning. When all this stuff is going on, there's more to it than just reasoning out logic. Excuse me, I gotta take a drink. No, I forgot what I was going to say because I was joking to death. Oh, reasoning. The word is the word of the day. Inductive reasoning. Look that one up. Inductive reasoning. It will blow your mind because it takes up the entirety of what we've learned over our entire lifetime. And it puts that into the scope of basically an algorithm. And we take our own inductive reasoning algorithm and we figure our own shit out. And the Holy Spirit uses that inductive reasoning to bring us more knowledge and understanding by putting puzzle pieces together, reaching or pointing us in the right direction for this or that. But be aware that as a believer too, that if you truly want to know the truth and you're asking God to show you, be ready because He's going to. Big time. And also, if you're on the fence and you don't know Jesus as your personal Savior, I can't begin to tell you how much I don't know about Jesus and the Father. I'm just learning. But I do know about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has been residing in me since my childhood. And I'm just learning who Jesus is and who the Father is. But if you're on the fence with not knowing what to do, I encourage you to jump off the fence and run towards God. Because He has His arms open wide. for everyone that wants the truth, everyone that wants to know the truth. Just go to God. And it's just, you know, Jesus, I would like to know who you are. And He'll show you. Holy Spirit, I would like to know who you are. He will show you. Father God, I would like to know who you are. He will show you. Trinity exists. Some people try to warp that too. Be careful. Be careful of some Bibles. They're not, proof to Scripture. We have to be very, very careful. But I encourage you, and I see we're getting to the 2-hour mark, and I'm going to have to end it here in a minute. But I encourage you to do your own research and to spend a little time on Google Earth and investigate things on your own. I found behind my house up on the book cliffs, I found a sacrificial site. I posted it on TikTok. There's some crazy stuff in my area. There's a Grand Mesa, over 3,000 lakes or something like that. But we're finding out the tree, and possibly the tree, because of its enormity. It's the largest flat top mesa on the planet where I live. And they found branches, way up, Of course, we're not very far from Utah. 19 miles from Utah. I think my roommate's home. I don't know. We'll see. Yes. So the way is the truth. Through all this, what's going on? Ask for the truth, and it will be revealed to you. I mean, I'm not God. I don't guarantee, yeah. But, that's how this stuff that I'm talking about today. This is how I found my way back to God through mud fossils. Through mud fossils. Let me see here that I can show you real quick. Okay. This is one that I posted online as well. But here is a bird head. And I think it's a vulture or a hawk or something. But here's the beak, and you can see the jagged, it's like a nutcracker, whatever. And then right there is the eyeball, and you can see the pupil. And then right here is the wattle. Is that what it's called? The wattle? Wattle. The little sack on the side of their face, like on a type of turkey too. But you can see the wattle. But this is a mud fossil. This is the head of a mud fossil. Up here on the top right here, those are feathers laying across the top of the head. Down here, you can see the feather patterns too, right here. Some of this stuff is super easy to see, and some of it's not. I have whole snakes I've found. Some of them you can see they're like fat and chunky, and they're like, look like an accordion. They were squished together, and like they're coming out of eggs. Now I have one here. I think this is a giant. Oh, I'm not really sure. It could not be that at all. But this thing on it, reminded me of a seahorse. Okay. And I'm like, what the heck tell if it was why on this because it should be raised. Then I thought, well, is it a tattoo? Because this looks like a giant finger of like a red skinned giant. Okay. And it's a little bit of, I think, sandstone. Um, but I thought it was a seahorse. But then when I looked at the tail down here on the side, see it's like a fan. See like a fan tail here, right there. It's a fan tail. It's um the only other had that with that shape, exact shape. Okay, when I'm talking about these things, I've researched them. It's a pipefish. It's a freaking pipefish, and this back here is the fin, different type of fin. They all have different types of fins and size tails and faces and different things like that. But I giraffe. I wonder if that's another one. I hadn't noticed that before. Oh snap! I'll have to look at that a little closer. But yeah, so there's a pipefish, and I don't know if it's an actual creature. Now here, if anybody knows anything about ocean stuff, this is a mud fossil sandworm. When you this is a sandworm, the top with the mouth. It's a sandworm. You guys will like this one. I know you can see. I know you the nostril. Part of the bottom beak is busted off, but you can see the eye here. And camera because it's too blurry. But I have a magnifying glass, and if you look at these ragged, jagged when you go in close, I got into this discussion with a guy on Facebook about feathers. He was saying that it was ferns, like plants won't last as long as other tissue, like flesh, the quickest. But feathers are like bones. Okay, the feathers because of the structure, the spine, flute, the whatever. They're different than plants. So they're more like hair and bone, last longer. So I can look at the ground topography in a continent. If some of it, like in Australia, I can show you iridescent feathers uh, across of the continent, um, and then bodies underneath that. Because if you think about the flood, the mud, the original flood, and how that receded, think about that for a minute, and how that receded. And I'm going over my 2 hours. I've got to get off. Um, think about that last layer that was floating on the top was probably all the skin stuff, just weird, gross, slimy. Ugh. You know, it was bad enough on the bottom, but okay, that was the last level that rested upon the earth after the first big mud flood, and, and that's what I, with all the skin and the feathers and things like that, were the last things that were floating on the top of the water that rested upon. And let me tell you, some of the stuff, and I'm just touching on a little bit of what I found in Antarctica. That stuff I found in every continent, thousands of things. You know, I'm just that I'm giving you today. Sliver. There's thousands, thousands and thousands and thousands. And I'm not the only one. They're like me doing these kinds of videos with the things that they find. And we don't all find the same things. We talk about a lot of the same. They're relevant in scoping things and understanding what we're looking at. But I encourage you to educate yourself on some of these projects because they are going on, and a lot of them in Antarctica. And again, I get back to that because of the cold. And these quantum computers, they have in that low, super low, super high cold, big time. And if you're a gamer, which I'm a gamer, I know a lot of games like, let me see if it's right here. Here it is. Horizon Zero Dawn. See those animals? See those creatures? Mechanical? Mini velociraptors. They're like T-Rexes. Something like that. But bigger. But basically, if you knew the story behind, if you actually read the about on this game, I guarantee you guys it will blow your freaking mind. But I'm going to end with that. Oh, and this is the other one. Let's see. Four. I'm going to be doing a video on this game because it is so pertinent. I found Lynn Wood's Foot Locker. This was made 2012. Let's see. I know it says. Yeah, well, they just made this in 2020. Oh, that's 76. That's not it. I'm looking at 76. I've got Fallout 4 is what I played. Here it is. 76 has stuff in it too, but I haven't played it, so I don't know. But this one, I don't even know if I know. 2015. 2015 is when it came. Virus takes everybody out, turns them into zombies, super mutants, giants, AI, synths, which is AI human, China involved, Alaska, atomic, all Megatron stuff. There's so much, you guys. I am completely in shock at how much information they're telling kids through video games. I mean, it's shocking. It's completely shocking. But I'm going to end with that. And thank you guys so much for joining me. And I'll have more map information. We're gonna spend a little bit more time looking at some of the bodies that I found. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time because then I wouldn't have things to talk about down the road because I want to bring some other things into it as we go along. I'm also going to be doing the bottom of the ocean show and all the regular mud fossil, Milo's mud fossils and more. So basically this is like a 3-pack. This is part of this show is part of a 3-pack. Mud fossils and more, which includes the mud fossil portion and the ocean, bottom of the ocean, the Antarctica, and then across on what we found with the pyramids, and even here in America, the stuff that they're hiding here, like even the Grand Canyon. I don't know if you guys know about the Grand Canyon. There is every single temple in the Grand Canyon hidden from us. Hey, B System, how's it going, man? Are you guys back? Thought I heard you come in. But anyways, stay tuned. God has me on this adventure. I encourage you to seek his face, because he's the one with all the answers. And I can definitely tell you that. He's definitely giving out the truth for all those that want to know. All you have to do is ask. Even if you're not a believer and you're like on the fence, I was talking before, you're on the fence about, wondering about God and stuff, enough to just jump off the fence and run towards him, asking him who he is, what he is. Show yourself to me. And he will guarantee you, he will. And you will experience something you've never experienced in your life. And it's called true love. Something I've never gotten from another human being, but I have from God. And I know it was real. Every day. I can't go without a day talking to God, just because he's my bread now. I can't do this without him. I can't. It's too hard. And for those of you that are with, what's going on in life, he's there for us. He's there to take our cares and our and bring it together for his will. There's this song, and I'm the author of it, but he sings the song and he says, "Let your life prove that there's a God." But anyways, take care, everyone, and keep looking at Google Earth and spend a little time and show your kids. Share it with your kids and let them start digging into stuff and looking at stuff. Trust me, they have eyes to see too. And the more eyes that are looking, the more we're going to find. And that's kind of the other reason why I'm doing this as well. We need to know what's going on. We need to know. And we know some stuff, but we're at the point to where it's like we're going to start demanding it. But take care, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next show. Hopefully tomorrow. Well, I don't know if about tomorrow. I'm probably going to work all day. If it is, it might be late. So hopefully I'll see you, and I'd like to do a worship session if I do anything tomorrow. So that's what you'll see. God bless everyone, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I wish you all, and I wish you a heart full of compassion, love, grace, mercy, prosperity, and I hope that you can find a little piece of this that might bring closer to the Father's heart, because that's where I like to spend my time, is learning about the Father's heart. With it. Take care, everyone. Love you. God bless everyone. Take care. Bye now. Ow!